In honor of her new movie coming out, I thought I would prep myself by reading the comic it's based on, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I'm Comic, I read comics as a total newbie and give my honest thoughts. Tom King is our writer, but of my 5 favorite things about these 8 issues, 4 of them are purely visual. Bilquis, Evely, and Mateus Lopes, I hope I didn't mispronounce that, do a masterful job with the art. Nearly every page just gets you so excited, and I usually find that's from cool panels, but here it's more to do with the stellar color palette. The reds are so deep, while the blues and greens feel so sleek. It's really expertly blended, and it lends the overall story a distinctly cosmic and galactic feel. Typically, I'll compliment art that tells a story by itself. However, the art here is less about a specific plot point and more about building this nebula of colors, pencils, and ink. I gotta make this my wallpaper now. What's even more impressive is the range of colors, which somehow all coexist so beautifully. The character designs are no different. They all have this nice smoothness to them. And that makes our villain, Krem, who gets a lot more straight edges, really stand out visually. You know, when I read these, I'll go through and note down which pages would be like a really sexy thumbnail, and I don't think I've ever written down so many. Speaking of writing, the writing is kinda rough.
I'm like, stop fucking talking! Yeah. Internalize!
I will say the story has good bones. I'm writing this before the movie comes out, so it's possible the story is exactly the same or drastically different. So I'll just explain it at a high level. This is a revenge story with our protagonist Ruthie roping Supergirl in to help avenge her father's death. It's a time-tested trope, but that's for a reason, and I think it was a great choice by King. I've only seen Supergirl from James Gunn's Superman, but I really like her here. Everyone in this universe has to abide by these arbitrary rules. This is a world where every character is being driven by something. Revenge, duty, honor, hatred, everybody has a code of some sorts. Which makes Supergirl, who does not give a fuck, a really unique character in this universe. I like how distinct she is from Superman. Everyone will initially point to her cursing, but like in this story, she doesn't hesitate to take drugs to stop a space dragon. Since this is told from Ruthie's perspective, Supergirl is actually a lot more mysterious than I expected. However, I would have really liked more storytelling around her. Ruthie's and Supergirl's dynamic is very well summed up in this page. Ruthie looks up to her as this legend of infinite goodness, which is essentially what Superman is. Then Supergirl does some ill-tempered thing and it's like, oh, she's not gonna fix me, I gotta fix her. Clearly, Supergirl sees something in Ruthie, and while it's not explicitly stated, I think it's pretty evident to me that it's herself. A little piece of Superman lore I didn't know until now is Kryptonians are only powered by certain suns. So because they go to like a million planets in this book, Supergirl's powers are never really static. As a result, pages like these where they just have her looking off into the horizon are so meditative. I really enjoy how often these issues will slow down and let you breathe and just internalize where we are. And then the characters start talking. I quite like the overall story, but the entire series is choked by this horrid dialogue. Most people, when they say they don't like the dialogue, they mean that Supergirl curses too much, or she talks like a smug teenager, but I have no issue with that. We are not the same. The issue is everyone else, and especially the narration, which is done by future Ruthie. It tries to have this punchy one-liner style that I loved in Immortal Hulk, but it worked there because all of those moments were from great dialogue. In Woman of Tomorrow, all that responsibility is with the narration. So without the situational dialogue, it comes across pretty recycled and honestly lazy. I did a little bit of an experiment. I took 5 random non-splash pages from my videos on 60s Spider-Man, 80s Wonder Woman, and Supergirl, of course. In terms of word count, Supergirl had the fewest amount in any screenshot, and in totality, only around half of 60s Spider-Man. But if we change the measurement from word count to percent of those words that are narration, it paints a totally different picture. Screenshot number 1 of Supergirl is 100% narration. If you combine every single percentage of the entire 10 screenshots between Spider-Man and Wonder Woman, you get 100%. Now, I'm not going to pretend this is a peer-reviewed study, but that's pretty jarring. This is the full data, and there probably is a little bit of a margin for error, so I'll show the screenshots I used here as well. Even if the overall story is far from wordy, I hope this illustrates why this narration feels so much more obtrusive. The narration is just the definition of a fatal flaw. There's just so much of it, and it doesn't even add to the story. My fatigue really started to hit about halfway through when Supergirl and Ruthie are chasing Krem from just planet to planet to planet. This middle chunk is so fucking boring. We visit a new planet every 8 pages or so. Like 5 pages after that screenshot, we're already on a new planet. 3 pages after that screenshot, we're on another planet. And I know I keep harping on this narration, but it just drives me up a wall when the writing explains things that we can just see with our eyes. There is just so much wasted time with this text. It bothers me for the same reason long cutscenes in video games do.
Who have thought
About what?
that a young buck like you could actually do the right thing and avoid getting his sorry
I had a
butt kicked
teammate
out the
hold me
game?
back. He told me to chill.
It's purposefully discarding the core value of the medium it's in. I want to give a counterexample on how to do this style correctly. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, or KOTOR for short. KOTOR is one of my favorite video games, despite its story basically being jump from planet to planet and just like hear exposition. There are around 10 planets in KOTOR's 30-hour story, but each one is so memorable because they either introduce something new or build on the overall plot. Terrace introduces inequality and exploitation as a core theme of the game. Dantooine places doubt in your mind if the Jedi are all these noble heroes we think they are. At minimum, every one of these planets introduces a new party member, kills a core character, or builds on the key themes. I counted at least 13 planets in Supergirl's 8 issues, of which I had to look up all the names, and I think maybe 2 of them feel distinct. I'm glad they allow for the art to pop off, but it really robs the setting of its narrative potential. There's also like a few minor plot holes. Krem steals Supergirl's ship, which he perfectly knows how to pilot despite having otherwise Stone Age tools. Honestly though, I don't care about those points as much, because thankfully the second half gets so much better. Supergirl and Ruthie finally catch up to Krem, only to be TP'd over to this planet with a green sun, one that turns Supergirl into a helpless little follower while Ruthie takes over. This is what I mean when I say I enjoy Tom King's storytelling, but not writing. This segment feels so earned. It's really our first true test of our hero's resolve. It culminates into this jaw-dropping panel of her outrunning this black hole MacGuffin that initially captured her. I think it's a great way to show fictional technology in a way that leverages its fantastical nature. I also love SUPERHORSE. This is reading my first SUPERHORSE comic now. I just wish this all happened like 60 pages sooner because I was pretty tired by this point. The last act is head and shoulders the best, with some awesome action of Supergirl fighting off this armada of Krem's allies while Ruthie debates what to do with him. By this point, they started to reel me back in because I was just enthralled with this action. Ruthie finally sees revenge is futile. Supergirl understands it's okay to ask for help, and the art takes my breath away. I'm super curious to see how the movie turns out because this is like the perfect source material for James Gunn. Supergirl's cosmic conflict with Krem's forces is so insane by scale, but yet it perfectly contrasts Ruthie and Krem's personal conflict on the island. The panels in that 1v1 specifically are incredible. I love how posed they are. Each is just so picturesque. I don't know, man. This ending though just does not make a lot of sense. Supergirl reveals that her dog was actually fine the whole time and she was just helping Ruthie out of the goodness of her heart. But that totally detracts from her arc learning how to empathize. Then Ruthie and Supergirl decide to spare Krem, which that lesson can be done and makes sense in a vacuum. You know, 2 wrongs don't make a right. But Supergirl just killed millions of his allies. We've also already established he's a great danger. He's ruined multiple civilizations. It is so preposterous to say with 10 pages left in this story, there's been enough killing. It is a shame because they lock him away in this like purgatory for 300 years and he comes out all rehabilitated, but it's just not the theme of this book. Krem only gets this treatment because he's a named character. But then, Ruthie kills him anyway! What the fuck? That makes absolutely no sense. The first 2 acts are filled with so much bloodshed. Then, in the finale, Tom King spares him out of nowhere and condemns him to centuries in purgatory, only to bring him back once he's actually served a punishment and then kill him? That's gotta violate some Geneva Convention. What is the lesson here? The story is rejecting its own argument. I think it had a lot of potential, but the rough points held back my enjoyment quite a bit. Alright, we got one more thing to do. We gotta rate this thing. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow has some of the most beautiful comic art I've ever seen, a compelling version of Supergirl, and a really strong final act. But Tom King's narration and repetitive middle section constantly get in the way of a story that should have been much better. It's gonna get a 6. Cut the length, shore up the narration, and you could really have something special. Very curious to see how this ages with the movie coming out, so I look forward to all y'all's comments, of which I reply to every single one. And that's it. I hope you have a good one. Peace.